conclusive. Noi abbiamo aperto...
le riflessioni conclusive.
Vado, poi chi vuole avete i materiali, ve li potete vedere con calma.
Certo.
Evidentemente a un anno dall'apertura è difficile trarre delle valutazioni rispetto al successo di questa operazione. Un anno di apertura e un anno di chiusura causa Covid, quindi insomma... Però da un lato, però alcune cose le possiamo già dire. Sappiamo anzitutto che il percorso di visita è molto stancante, anzitutto perché abbiamo fatto un posto tutto buio e questo implica che è come stare al cinema 4 ore di fila, quindi stanca proprio a livello di sforzo visivo. Poi c'è un eccesso di quantità di contenuti che abbiamo presentato, che abbiamo inserito. Considerate che per leggere tutto e guardare tutto ci vuole circa una settimana, quindi effettivamente forse abbiamo un pelino esagerato. Inoltre c'è la questione di interagire con installazioni che hanno ciascuna un modo di interazione diverso. Questo noi l'avevamo cercato per non annoiare, per mantenere alta la concentrazione, però in alcune fasce di pubblico, soprattutto verso gli adulti, questo scoraggia l'utilizzo dei nuovi device che via via si incontrano. C'è da dire che quasi tutto il pubblico che è venuto fino adesso è entusiasta dell'esperienza vissuta, e soprattutto la cosa più bella è che le scuole sono entusiaste, quindi i professori sono entusiasti di portare le loro classi perché hanno lì uno strumento utile anche per la propria didattica curricolare. Quindi diciamo che l'esperimento però era riuscito. Ci sono molte cose che vanno ovviamente messe a punto. Dovete considerare che noi non avevamo esempi a cui rifarci realmente, perché appunto di solito i musei hanno una collezione a cui aggiungono delle strutture interpretative, però la nostra idea è che ogni 5 anni più o meno la mostra dovrà essere rifatta. Quindi concludendo, noi anche come M9 siamo ancora nell'epoca dell'entusiasmo digitale e credo che questo Covid abbia espanso l'entusiasmo digitale. Però ecco, dobbiamo farci alcune riflessioni sul fatto che a volte le tecnologie non apportano realmente molto alla diffusione della conoscenza e non sempre si integrano davvero con le collezioni museali. A volte sono solo un modo per avere un wow effect, a volte sono delle aggiunte a delle museografie tradizionali, a volte come nel nostro caso, anche se evidentemente noi non avevamo questa intenzione, ma sono diventate un po' ipertrofiche, quindi a volte
perdonami, abbiamo una domanda nella chat a cui ti chiedo di rispondere veramente in 30 secondi. Telegraficamente. How many in-house professionals will look after learning sessions? What kind of sessions will be offered to schools and or the general public?
Allora, noi siamo 3 storici in house, diciamo così, quindi che stiamo dietro a tutta la parte dei public program, quindi convegni, conferenze. Poi ora sta nascendo un dipartimento edu che tiene insieme la parte di M9, diciamo così, formativo, quindi visite guidate, laboratori legati al Novecento, con una parte che è uno spin-off di M9 che si chiama M9 Children, dedicato solo alla didattica innovativa, quindi attraverso ad esempio Minecraft, Lego Lace e via dicendo. Quindi di fatto lo staff del museo, in realtà tutto lo staff del museo siamo meno di 10 persone. E la parte dedicata alle scuole adesso siamo in 3. Senza contare ovviamente gli operatori didattici, ma quelli non li contiamo come staff stabile, ecco.
Grazie Michelangela. Ti chiederei, perché sono sicuro che magari anche altri vorrebbero fare domande, visto che stai per andare via, ti chiederei di condividere la tua email per eventualmente delle domande dirette e puoi farlo per via chat.
Lo metto nella chat assolutamente.
And I switch back to English and I welcome Elisa Corrò, who is our second panelist. Elisa has a master's degree in medieval archaeology from Ca' Foscari University, a postmaster's degree in archaeological risk management from Lewis Business School in Rome, and a PhD in geoarchaeology from Ca' Foscari University as well. Her main scientific interests are in risk modeling and data mining and geoarchaeology of northern Italy, especially in coastal areas. Over the last year, working as a postdoctoral researcher at the University of Venice, she has developed a landscape analysis project of Venice countryside aimed at increasing the value of the cultural heritage through scientific dissemination and digital technology. And this is what she's going to talk to us today with her presentation entitled Heritage Thinking and Maker Culture, History of Landscapes, Communities and Memories in the Venice Countryside. Please, Elisa.
Thank you very much. Good afternoon, everyone. I want to thank Humanities for Change for this opportunity and for this amazing organization. My topic regards today historical, archaeological, and multimedia exploration of the landscape condition, with special attention to, I'm not able to, to environmental changes due to water management activities that began in the past that has an impact on the present communities and places. For this reason, my research needs to go beyond academy, including also public engagement components, paying attention to the intersection between environmental, humanities, and digital technologies. Seas, rivers, and lagoons are special environments, considered often sites of cultural imagination, of conflict and resistance, of ecological awareness, sites of cultural and artistic intervention, and of sustainability challenges. Archaeology helps us to reveal how in the past, in order to maintain strategic position, anthropogenic landscape transformation can be dramatic and also extreme, especially nearby Venice, the queen of these territories. And moreover, these are places and archaeological sites with a never-ending stories, as the case of Mira nearby Venice, where I'm working on since 2014. For instance, the continuous disruption of old churches and structures of specific medieval sites has served to the construction of villages until 50 years ago. So oral tradition now are helping us to explain when, how, and where this happened. The subject concerning the impact of the anthropic changes on the environment and the key role of the hydrography in constraining land use dynamics is well studied and documented in scientific literature. However, approaching communities led to use digital content in a creative and innovative way, for instance, storytelling, to support research and teaching, to enhancing capability of planning and creating cultural paths to support research and dissemination, to develop ability to stimulate the process of learning and research, and the development of skills for cooperative learning. Moreover, knowledge transfer contributes to multiple fields, including maker culture, co-creative inclusive narratives, and the construction of a cultural identity. The objectives are scientific, technological, related to digital communication and public engagement. They aim to expand on methodologies for an efficient, for a valid involvement of citizens in participatory ways, to develop dynamic, multidisciplinary and innovative ideas and make creative use of data, media, and tools to express also and digest complex sets of information, to adapt theoretical knowledge through the use of technological and integrated tools, to develop innovative applications that enable communities, individuals, and also professionals to engage with cultures of the past, from heritage sites to family memories, giving new ways to understand, interpret, and share information and models of the past. And then create a base knowledge heritage for future generations as a resource for regional development. In this way, the history of landscape could be a resource for the communities, proposing ways and practices through which the meaning-making process in the cultural heritage activities can be more inclusive and contribute to making knowledge even more accessible and engaging for different kinds of audiences. The power of narratives, reliving memories and visual experiences led to the creation of a series of emotional events known from neuroscientists as the constructive emotion approach. In fact, recently they have demonstrated that emotions are a kind of dynamic state of mind, directly connected more than we think with the environmental and cultural context. So without cultural context, only a partial description of what is happening is available. The whole history is not known. The complete picture is missing. It is the completeness of the picture in the totality of the story that an emotion is truly captured. From a neuroscience and psychological point of view, this approach is directly connected with the place in which you live and the natural and cultural evolutions of that territory. I mean, to people belonging to a specific place. That means that our own today experience is the result of the answer from the environment. All of this reinforce also the meaning of the identity as defined the cultural heritage and the landscape European code, as Francesca Vera Romano highlighted very well this morning, in which the term landscape is defined as an integral part of the territory whose characteristics are derived from nature, the history of humanity, or from their reciprocal interrelationships. From this perspective, the approach I usually use is based on integration and participation. The integration of the cultural landscape into urban, environmental, and agricultural policies is still very problematic and difficult to achieve today. The separation between landscape protection and territorial governance is still so marked. Participation processes aim at evaluating landscapes, taking into account the specific values attributed to them by the population, struggle to become a truly effective practice for the implementation of participatory landscape policies. So the two issues, integration and participation, need to be considered in a synergy and in a complementary way in order not to avoid the exploitation of participatory tools. In this way, it is possible to approach people towards these topics, focusing on the elements of the landscape from the perception and the society to the impact and the government, the management of the territory. These elements play a basic role both in the territorial governance process and in the community's awareness that the society itself is the first producers of the landscape. That means that the whole landscape is our heritage. However, it seems that people are increasingly struggling to recognize its importance and preservation. Now we are overwhelmed by the green and plastic-free trends, and it seems that we are taking care of what the territory matters are. So I would say that we are working on safeguarding and awareness. But how now to involve also people through the use maybe of digital and media technologies, of course, and as the use of free open data. Look, for instance, to the wide range of open data that are available online, Google Maps or data related to demography or environment. So work together with citizens to search and create not only a description, but also a story of the landscape in such a creative way, focusing on their researches. I work with young guys from an Italian institute during COVID times. This test was very useful for researchers of multiple fields to understand how much people are related to the land in which they live, the perception they have, and how well they know it. With the open data, you are able to create another or a new story in a world made of stories. So the outcome of this test was to create a narration and a collection of data to be processed in a data visualization open source program available online. The second part of this test was to compare the present with the past to the materiality of objects, pictures, etc. But the current situation has stopped the project. Anyway, it was a very short but nice experience. Another key point is to asking which kind of relationship we have with our landscape. So find your place, your identity is very important. That means find your affinity place, a place where informal learning takes place, where people are drawn together because of a shared interest. So natural, environmental, historical, archaeological elements represent our heritage. the heritage that we have inherited from the past and that we must pass on to future generations. It is important to consider the relationship that each one of us has with our own cultural and natural heritage as the reason of our identity. And we have to consider also that the memories of the past and the oral traditions are stories often related to a happy end and to the message that the past was always better than the present. Sometimes in the past things seems to work better than now. I mean, people often narrate the beauty of the past from a cultural landscape point of view, remembering the importance to live in a community despite the uncertainty of the present social context. But now it's important to be conscious of that we can be the creators of our landscape and understand that also the future could be as nice as the past and that the landscape is constantly changing. It is dynamic. So the question is, what history to tell now? We are part of the history. What is the meaning of the past in a globalized world? There's a lack of information. It is one of the weakest elements, I think, and not only between locals, but at various levels in planning, in design, management. So globalization is maybe a limit for our culture. Serge Gruzinski in 2016 tried to analyze the sense of the past in the globalized world and the social context on which history acts. So what was to tell? This is a question for you after in the discussion. For him, we are in a context of loss of history due to globalization. We have to think about. It is important to know how local communities are connected with water management, culturally, mentally, following up the idea of an emerging land memoryscape. So how are people connected with historical events, how many memories they have, and how their mind works with the related environment, now maybe completely changed. So the promising researches in digital cultural heritage, including design thinking, storytelling, etc., revealed the most effective tool to communicate, visualize, and generate innovative ideas and make creative use of information, data, and media to express also complex information. The use of a citizen science approach aims at facilitating the dialogue, sharing co-produced knowledge and values, and involving citizens in academic research and dissemination of the results. Moreover, not only citizens and the people are included, but also companies and associations in there. For instance, together with local companies, we create different scenarios in an immersive room, new experiences to transfer and facilitate students and citizens learning as the one you are seeing here now related to water, also by promoting a critical thinking. I think that the point could be the public perceptions of the past and the cultural heritage. This is very important for future generation and for future construction of institutional and professional identities within a possible changing also in the museum practice, maybe visitors experience and meaning making processes, for instance, in a future museum. So we had to balance both professional expertise and public engagement in their practices. And from this point of view, digital technologies are essential. So has digital maybe now led to an evolution of society, not only in digital humanities? This is another question, maybe for you after. And for the Venetian area that is so unique, I'm totally convinced that shifting the focus directly on yourself, listening to people and to the community itself, making them become protagonists is the best solution to express the sense of a very complex and extraordinary landscape like the Venetian one. Do you think that it's possible to shift the focus, something towards another focus? So yes, it is. Look at the Swatch company, for example, which transformed the budget-friendly, function-oriented watch industry into an emotionally driven fashion statement, or Starbucks, which revolutionized the coffee industry by shifting the focus away from selling coffee for everyday use to the emotionally charged atmosphere in which customers enjoy their coffee. So we can do it, just to try, but this is not the story, and especially another business. So from this perspective, what does it mean make a culture in 2020? During COVID times, the use of digital technology has got a notable increase. In my works, it was useful for the creation of new narrations based on visual storytelling approach. And Before Marco Polo is a video produced on the occasion of an exhibition, Venice and Sozzu, that is now suspended for the current situation. And the short animation was made starting from drawings by a cartoonist and illustrates the original urban landscape of Venice, one of the most famous cities in the world, but with a very dark history. And written sources alone do not help us to reconstruct it. So under a Venice of brick and stone lies another city. In this way, it is possible to bring back the past, helping us to explain it. And in this way, we want also to examine the impact of these processes on the society, processes that involve the identification of historical landscapes, their deciphering and their changes over the centuries. I mean, another story about Venice, and we will see the reaction. And during COVID times, the cooperative learning is very important. And this means participation and sharing. Landscapes have changed in the last 40 years, and also from the point of view of the perception that individuals have on of their own cultural references. With Villa de Leon historical heritage, the mayor of the district, in collaboration with us, wanted to highlight the cultural heritage, identifying the elements of the landscape that have been at the center of many researches, also linked to the enhancement of places in relation to their development. I would like to conclude my presentation with Venice River Collection that represents a new challenge in the cooperative learning in the district of Mira. The improvement of the quality in terms of livable of these landscapes around Venice today recalls another keyword, resilience. That is the need to equip the city to overcome extreme events and the continuous stresses connected with the climate change. From this point of view, in this context, the everyday landscapes are also the most vulnerable ones on which more attention needs to be paid. In the works of adaptation to climate change, we are creating new everyday landscapes, working on those that are not only degraded, but also more vulnerable. With what results? With what involvement of the local population? And can adaptation projects improve the quality of the cultural landscape? So the Venice River Collection blog site is public oriented, with the story of a specific site and its travel through time until the present, and with beautiful gallery of images via Instagram. Each story regards a particular topic, from safeguard to preservation. Remember to celebrate and conserve, connect and collaborate. So in my experiences, I realized that a multidisciplinary approach is absolutely the best solution to be adopted. This approach is based on a continuous dialogue between the different point of views, different skills, and often going beyond boundaries of single disciplines. And only with this approach, with a teamwork, you can integrate apparently unrelated evidences, and it is amazing when it happens. So if we know that maybe a higher awareness of such environmental and societal threats can help for a better scenario of the future through the production of new knowledge. And for all of these reasons, embrace the possibility of the interactivity. So allow participants to play around with different perspectives, create their own personal stories and about an issue, or allow them to construct parts of the narration. So be a narrative architect. And these are ways to engage not only public, but also stakeholder. So thank you very much.
Thanks to you, Elisa. Thank you very much also for the cheerfulness which you have presented. Your very interesting talk. And I now switch to Alberto Trentin, who is a philosophy graduate from Ca' Foscari University and holds a PhD in civilization of humanism and the Renaissance from the National Institute for the Study of the Renaissance, which is located in Florence. Following the trail of Renaissance people, he decided to study clinical pedagogy and finance and management, bringing together apparently very different things, and earned a degree in each subject from the University of Pisa. He's today an analyst at a multinational company and teaches creative writing at the writing school in Treviso. He is the author of several theatrical texts that have been brought to theaters in the Treviso area, two collections of poems, and is also the editor of a collection of essays on globalization, which was published in 2010. He has written essays on 20th century writers such as Dino Buzzati and Ezra Pound. And today he's going to talk to us about The Hero and the Company, how Ulysses and his descendants can help business, which is going to be a reflection on the possible intersections between